sometimes weird, stupid competition between NBC and NPP, who is responsible, who said what and what. Recently, there's somebody on the minority, and so now you can help me you can remind me about him, who made the point that, what the Mahamadu administration is doing is exactly what they did. They said that. So my goodness, for God's sake, to our people. Now, there's something else which is not factored in the discussion, and it's simply this. You see, gold is a non-renewable resource. There is gold embedded in our soils, no doubt. But you see, if you take the gold out, you cannot plant it again. You cannot replant gold. Once you take it out, it's gone and it's gone forever. It's a non-renewable resource. Now, even today, as we have so much of that resource embedded in our soils, look at the levels of poverty in the country, the levels of poverty in the country. Look at the bad roads we have. There are problems with access to education, access to health, and so on. We are in trouble. We've had to run to the IMF and the World Bank 18 times in order to look for solutions which we never get, and so on, with all of these resources embedded in our soils. Now, I want all of us to sit back and to think about 50 years from now. 50 years from now. When we have taken all of these non-renewable resources from our soil and deposited them in Europe and Far East and so on, what will be the fate of our grandchildren? This is something we have to be thinking about and stop this sometimes weird, stupid competition between NBC and NPP, who is responsible, who said what and what. The future of Ghana, the future of our grandchildren and so on is at stake. It's a non-renewable resource. If you take it out of the ground, it's gone forever. You understand? And that should inform our thinking on this problem. And there's one person that I've quoted many times over the years. And who is that? It's Ochini. What did he say? The Ochini says that gold is not a material which will rot. It has never rotted. If you don't have the means and the arrangements to exploit it for your benefit now, leave it in the soil. Don't touch it, leave it there. 200 years from now, you can go back and dig it up. You understand? So there's no compulsion to dig out this non-renewable material by all means or by any means now. It doesn't make sense so to do. So we should get our regulatory framework right, we should get our science right and so on. And when we do get these things right, the gold will be there, it will not be rotting. We can go for it and so on. It does make a lot of sense, to me, to take that approach. Now listen, sometimes when you listen to our politicians and political communicators, I think they unfortunately have no respect, for us. And that's why they can play this childish blame game. Master, the last elections, why? I heard, and I'm sure that all of us on this panel heard, NPP stalwarts mount the political platform and says, they are not fools. They are not going to tackle galamsey and lose the elections. Am I lying? If I'm lying, tell me. The tapes are there, we can play them right now. That we are not fools. They are pushing us to go and fight galamsey so we can lose our seats and lose elections and so they said that. Yes, it is true that there were elements of the NDC side who also said that, oh, this problem can be solved in 3 months. In fact, somebody said a couple of weeks. You know, all you have to do is to impose a state of emergency and the problem will be solved and so on. We heard all of this. Okay? But why? Is this the game we should be playing now? Does this game solve the problem? It doesn't. This blame game doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't in any way resolve this concrete problem, which is leading to deformation of children, which is leading to the deformation of the national economy, which is leading to a situation where in some areas pipe-borne water can no longer be produced for our people's consumption. So let us come together. Let us begin to think. And I am in agreement with the minority leader Afenyo when he says that, look, drop all this blame game and so on. Let's sit down. Let's have a discussion based on science. Let's have a discussion which is based on a genuine effort to address the problem, and let's find solutions and move forward and stop who said what in the last election. And that's what Afenyo says, and I think he makes a lot of sense, you know, when he talks like this. So, what is happening? Now, again, and I'm talking about statements which were made in the past, and I think that it should be statements which were made in the past and it should remain at that level. You understand? I'm only bringing these statements up to show the complete lack of sincerity on the part of major political actors. Why? There was one particular take which was so very instructive. This is a tape on which leaders of the New Patriotic Party were in a meeting, and I'm sure you know that tape, where actually one of them said, look, the party needs money to organize. And that galamsey is one of the areas where we can make money to organize the party. So let us do it, and so on. You know about that tape. You understand? We know about Frimpong Boateng's report, the counter arguments and so on. We know about all of that and so on. So I'm saying that let's put that aside. Let's come back to the drawing board. Let us apply science. Let us apply our concrete knowledge of the problem and so on, and find a solution going forward. Now, look. No matter what he said, I have no reason whatsoever to believe that somebody like the current Minister for Lands and Natural Resources has no commitment to fighting against galamsey, whatever it is. I listen to him, see him in the field, doing things and so on. His commitment is very clear. It may not be achieving immediate results. It may take some time to achieve results, but the commitment is clearly there. And I have no doubt at all about it. Now, you see, recently, there's somebody on the minority, and so now you can help me you can remind me about him, who made the point that, oh, what the Mahamadu administration is doing is exactly what they did. They said that. So my goodness, for God's sake, if what the Mahamadu administration is doing is a repeat of what you did, why are you complaining? Why are you complaining? That is what they are telling us. They are telling us, oh, they are not doing anything new. All the things that they are doing are the things that we did. So you did the same things. What moral authority do you have to criticize somebody for doing what you claim that you did? Yes, it is slow. The pace of reclamation of land is slow. The the quality of water has not been restored completely yet. There are some signs of improvement, but it is not sufficient, and so on. These are facts. So what do we do? What do we do is to mobilize all the knowledge we have, to mobilize all the strengths we have, and so on, to see if it is possible to develop another paradigm for mining in Ghana. Then the president calls a meeting of those who are most critical of the issue. Say, why is he calling the meeting? It's for propaganda purposes. So what should he do? Ignore them? Not have a conversation with them? Where is that coming from? What is the problem? So now we should not even be engaging groups in the country which express concern about problems that confront all of us. What is this? I don't understand it. You understand? Now, one of the things that we are going to have to decide going forward is simply the purpose of mining. What is the purpose of mining? Whatever mining we are engaged in, whether it's lithium mining, whether it's gold mining, diamond mining, or whatever, what is the purpose of mining? Because you can engage in mining only for the accumulation of private profits. You can engage in mining as an enterprise for the purposes of private accumulation. That's a model you can follow. And then you can engage in mining not for private accumulation, but as an enterprise designed to facilitate national development. That's another model. Which are the models we want? We're having all of these problems now because the central focus of mining is for private profit. Private accumulation of profits. You understand? And when mining is centered largely or only on the accumulation of private profit, you get the kinds of problems that we have today. So we need to have a new national orientation about mining. The purpose of mining. Why do we mine? And what is it that we can do in order to keep this orientation intact? That is our challenge. You understand? But if you reduce it to a propaganda contest between NPP and NDC, we are not getting anywhere. We need to rise above this propaganda contest between the NPP and the NDC. You see, Sana, when I came to the studio this morning, I noticed that the topic that we were discussing had been shaped in such a manner as to include a discussion of the prosecution of Chairman Wontumi. And you will remember that I raised immediate objections. Look, and we are happy that on this panel, British is here. She's a lawyer.
And also,
you understand? Pardon?
Kobe is also a lawyer.
And you are also a lawyer. Look, we should be very careful. We are getting to a stage where even matters which are before the courts are being publicly discussed, even sometimes by lawyers who make all manner of prejudicial statements which clearly are in violation of the rights of accused persons. And I think we should watch it. You understand? Allegations have been made against Chairman Wontumi. He's been arrested, he's been granted bail, his matter is before court. It is not for you and I to determine whether he's guilty or not. You understand? If you have to apply the rules, if you have to apply the proper framework for adjudication, for justice and so on, it is not for us to be making those determinations as to whether he'll be convicted or not convicted and so on. In fact, under normal circumstances, those commentaries would amount to contempt of courts. You understand? So he's been arrested. As far as I'm concerned, there's no evidence that his rights have been violated. He's been given his full rights. He's represented by counsel. He's been given bail conditions. If he fulfills them, he will go home and so on. But ultimately, it's for the courts to decide whether he's guilty or not. It's for the courts to decide whether he has violated law or not violated law. It's not for me to come and sit on Alaji and pronounce judgment over him. You know, and I think we should avoid it. And this is not just about Chairman Wontumi. It's about all the cases before our courts. One of the other things that I think is important that we observe has to do with the fundamental principles underpinning the 1992 Constitution. And one of those fundamental principles underpinning the 1992 Constitution is the principle of separation of powers. You understand? That principle is an important principle. You cannot be upholding the values of constitutionalism if you act in ways which undermine this principle of separation of powers. And I think it's important for us all to be guided by these principles. It's important for all of us to make a conscious effort to ensure that citizens who, for good reason or for bad reason or for whatever reason, how do they say it? Fall foul of the law, have every opportunity to defend themselves and to do so without us, veering into the political arena to make prejudicial statements which may not afford them the full opportunity to defend themselves. Look, I was very upset in the last 8 years or so about the trial of Dr. Stephen Ofori. I mean, I saw aspects of the trial that I actually believed constituted a gross violation of his rights as a citizen, and so on. You understand? What happened to Dr. Ofori should not happen to anybody else in the NPP or any other political party for that matter. We have to be fair to everybody. At the end of the day, if the Attorney General provides concrete evidence and the court is satisfied that Wontumi or any other person who has been accused has violated the law, let the law take its course. You understand what I'm saying? At the end of the day, the Attorney General has a responsibility to present a watertight case to the court. On the basis of the evidence that the Attorney General's Department is able to adduce and so on, the court will make a determination. Indeed, if the court does not make the right determination, if the court does not weigh the evidence properly and so on, there are other courses which can be pursued. That is why we have the right of appeal and so on. Let's do it. Let's do things properly. Let's do things clean. Let's make sure that citizens' rights are protected. Let's make sure that the interest of the state is protected and so on. I get very worried. Now, I said this maybe 2-3 years ago, and you would remember, and there was some discomfort when I said it. When I gave the Atta Mills Memorial Lecture, I raised a caution that there's a problem in any society which counts convictions of citizens as political gains. And it doesn't matter whether it's the NPP or the NDC. There's a problem with that kind of thinking. I'm happy so far with efforts which are being made by government to deal with this problem of mining, and I say problems of mining deliberately, because even some so-called legal mining has dangerous consequences for us and so on. So I'm so happy with some of the measures which have been put in place. I am also happy that citizens of this country continue to speak out about what they consider to be right and wrong about the measures which are being implemented. I'm happy about the president's engagement with so-called civil society organizations and the outcomes of that meeting. I'm happy that everybody is contributing to to generating ideas for the resolution of this problem. Let us continue on that path, and hopefully we'll be able to design mining in Ghana in such a way as will be beneficial to the citizens in their collective, and we will then be able to approach mining not as an enterprise for private accumulation, but an enterprise for the advancement of our society. Finish.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There's Kofi Sam who says, is it okay? Is it that the black man, I always disagree with this, but it's your comment. Isn't it that the black man is not able to manage his own affairs, hence allowing the Chinese to come and destroy our water bodies and lands? That's Kofi Simon. Dara also says, you better make restrictions on your land because everybody is trying to use raw materials and thereby killing your land by the way they are mining using chemicals to destroy the land. Don't let it be. Make restrictions, no chemical, no dumping in water. Make an office that can check what these other countries are doing at all time, not just checking once daily, so no one will do anything slick behind you. Nanaya Ochunibo Asamoah says, it seems nobody is holding those importing and mining chemicals into the country responsible too, as they are also making money and incognito. There's Suleiman Abdul Rahim, who says the seizure of the various forest reserves under the control of bandits is a sign that we are moving in the right direction. There's John Anderson, who says oral galamsey cathedral PDS Ken Ofori Atta and Nabi said in Tamloko Kwabena Agyapong etc. are all going to go free. It is a scam. As for the legal processes being complicated and dicey, is a rigmarole. That is coming. That's John who said that. Hassan Suleiman says the fight against galamsey is in full swing. Let no one throw dust into our eyes. That this government is doing nothing about galamsey. What NIMOS is doing is unprecedented. The difference between this government and Akufo Addo's is night and day. There's also Kofi who says, Uncle and my mentor Kwesi Prat, what was the position of the otchere and Boakye in the past 8 or 9 years under the watch of Akufo Addo, who is also an achievement? There's Musa Yusuf Abatwa, who says it is deeply troubling that individuals who abuse power to devastate our forest reserves and contaminate vital water bodies are being praised by some party members. Galamsey is not a partisan issue. It is a national crime that destroys the environment and our future. Those responsible must be identified, held accountable, and prosecuted under our laws. We must protect our natural heritage and ensure that no one, regardless of position, is above the law. Thank you very much for sending in those comments. Let me end with Alhassan Hamdan in Nyohini South, who says those arguing Ghana can't fight galamsey because most of the people depend on it for survival. You should stop. The government is not fighting galamsey, but rather fighting illegal galamsey. So should we allow people to continue to destroy our water bodies simply because they are earning their livelihoods through it? Then we should also allow armed robbers to continue to rob because that's where they also end their livelihood.
Well, look, I think it hasn't dawned on people yet, even though the facts are there in our face. The new patriotic party you have today is not the new patriotic party even in early 2024. It's a substantially different political party. You understand? Why do I say this? You have a substantial break away from that party. The movement for change has broken away. It hasn't gone back. Indeed, from all that I'm hearing, within the next 2 weeks, it will be a fully registered political party. And it's coming out of the new patriotic party. That's a fact. You understand? Not just that. As we speak, there are other prominent persons in the party who are preparing to launch another political party. You understand? So, at least you're expecting 3 parties emerging out of the new patriotic party. That's a fact. And that should be a source of worry for anybody who is a member of the party, for anybody who is seeing that party as a machine for election. It is plenty. You understand what I'm saying? That's clear. Now, one would have expected that given these circumstances, there would have been a lot of effort, on the reconstruction of the political party, its rebranding and so on. You don't see that. All you hear is about who is likely to become the flag bearer of the party and so on. Flag bearer of what party? A broken party? What impact can you make? What impact can be made with this broken party in the next elections and beyond and so on? So I think that some effort has to go into thinking about how to reshape the party, how to position it and so on. There were some noises about bringing back all the old folks who had left. There was reference to Dr. Nyahota Makro and so on. At the same time, you hear them saying that they don't want those people back. I mean, anytime Atta Kennedy, for example, makes a statement, they say, who is Atta Kennedy? He's no longer a member of the party, and so on. So you don't see that genuine attempt to encourage people to come back to the party. I mean, what you see is a deliberate effort to drive people away from the party and so on. Now, there is something that perhaps is not obvious, but it should have been obvious. And it's simply this. Look, the first time, the Dankwa Buzia tradition, that's how they call themselves, Dankwa Buzia Domo tradition, won free and fair elections in this country was in 2000. Check the records. In 1969, they had to ban the CPP. You understand? Even other political parties that came up that looked like the CPP were banned, like the People's Popular Party led by Dr. Lutrot and so on, to win that 1969 election. Since then, they won no election. The only election which they won was in 2000 with President Kufuor as the candidate. Now listen to me very carefully. President Kufuor won that election because he went out of his way to cultivate other traditions. President Kufuor deliberately built what was then called the Great Alliance in order to be able to win that election. Not just that, President Kufuor erected billboards across the country of himself and Kwame Nkrumah. Check, go back and check. His billboards had Kwame Nkrumah on his billboards and so on. Okay? So he presented as some kind of a united front. He built bridges with other political traditions and so on to be able to win that election. Okay? Now, you take the victory of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo Addo in the 2016 elections. And Senna, they may want to admit it or dismiss it. The fact is that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo Addo, even without saying it, was seen as a bridge. Because there's so many people who said, but we know him, he's a member of the CPP. He was a member of the CPP. And that's a fact. Okay? So a lot of people saw him as a bridge. They didn't see him as a typical Dankwa Buzia Dumbo person and so on. They saw him as somebody who belonged to the radical wing of the Convention People's Party. Indeed, he belonged to the left wing of the Convention People's Party. And his own sister, Marigold, there's actually a video of the sister talking about how after the 1966 coup, Nana Addo ran back home and had to be hidden because he was on the list of persons to be arrested and so on. You understand? So it surprised a lot of people when he became president and he started this anti-Nkrumah rhetoric and so on, given the fact that he had benefited from his association with the Convention People's Party. And this is a fact, you understand? Now, so the point I'm making simply is that the NPP has never won elections on its own strength. And that at all material times, you can argue that it won on the basis of a presentation of itself as a broad front and so on. Okay. Now, the party is preparing to go into another election. It is fractured internally. There are 3 parties emerging out of 1. It has lost an election, and I believe largely because it was too partisan. It presented a narrow view of politics. All these anti-Nkrumah attacks by NAPO and so on killed that party. You understand? So you factor in the fact that they've lost that broad CPP constituency is lost, which helps them to win elections is lost. And then the fact that they are splintered, into 3 different political parties, or they're likely to be splintered into 3 different political parties. And you can see that the future is very, very, very bleak for the party. But it doesn't appear that they see the problem. So they are continuing, as usual, they are continuing dreaming about the strength they don't have, and so on. And it is interesting for me, watching this contest for primaries and so on. There's only one of the candidates, who is appreciating all the things that I'm talking about now. And it's Kennedy Agyapong. Kennedy Agyapong is the only one who sees that the NPP on its own is not going to make any headway. And that is why Kennedy Agyapong has started talking about wanting to emulate Nkrumah. I'm sure you are aware that he's been talking about how to emulate Nkrumah, how to work with other political forces and so on. He's the only one who sees this problem and is making some noises, is doing something about repairing this damage that the New Patriotic Party, appears to be suffering. But beyond that is also the perception. Is it just a perception? I don't think it's just a perception, it's also reality. About the party machinery itself doing everything possible to make sure that there's only one outcome of this contest. And that's clear. Look, they went to file their papers and so on. There were 5 candidates who filed their papers. It was only Dr. Bawumia whose filing process was live streamed on the party's official channels. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? This whole thing is skewed, or some people are trying to skew it against other contestants. And the consequences can be very disastrous. And as my brother here said, if these matters are not taken on board, they will win primaries. One person may be the one they prefer, the party machinery prefers, so will win. But there will be no opportunity for reconciliation and rebuilding of that party. That's a total disaster. You understand? And then, Senna, I think it's about time that politicians woke up to the fact that their relevance is only to the extent that their candidature can lead to the resolution of the concrete problems that confront our people. Why? People don't vote for candidates because they are tall, or because they are handsome, or because, they vote for them because they have concerns about their lives. They have problems that they want solutions to. All of this contest. Have you ever heard any of those candidates, and again, somehow, strangely, it's only Kennedy Agyapong who is talking about these things. Have you ever heard any of them talking about how to revamp the cocoa industry? Have you? Have you heard any of them talking about that? Have you heard any of them talking about the state of national infrastructure and so on? Have you heard any of them talking concretely about the unemployment situation in our country and so on? Unfortunately, it appears that the only one I'm hearing is Kennedy Agyapong again. You know, but you see, be that as it may, I have followed the tiff between Gabby darko, and largely the members of parliament or the parliamentary caucus of the NPP in Ashanti region, and I've followed it. And I've asked myself a few questions. What is Gabby saying which is not true? Somebody should tell me what Gabby is saying which is not true. Gabby is saying that if you have such a crucial election to contest, and you go apologizing and nobody knows what you are apologizing about and so on, it's a problem, and isn't it a problem? Those of them in that party who are apologizing, do you know what they are apologizing for? They said they are sorry, they didn't do well and so on. Why didn't they do well? They can't tell us. So all this apology, what is it about? It appears to be some contrived, messaging. And it doesn't help anybody in national politics. Why? Gabby is saying, what are you apologizing for? And that if you make these apologies and nobody understands what the apology is about and so on, in the final analysis, these apologies will come to harm you. Is that not the true statement? Master, I've finished.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.